bueno, ya sabéis que este año Madrid es el templo donde se reúnen los mejores atletas de todo el planeta. La semana pasada vivimos un campeonato absoluto espectacular con un reguero de marcas personales, récord de España, récord del campeonato. Hoy lo estamos viviendo aquí en Gallur con este World Indoor Tour y lo vamos a vivir también en junio, del 27 al 29 de junio en Vallehermoso al aire libre. Vamos a tener el Campeonato de Europa de Selecciones. Y ahora os voy a pedir un fortísimo aplauso para el hombre que ha vencido en la prueba de triple salto y que va a recibir ese maravilloso ramo que reciben todos los vencedores de las pruebas.
We started on the 25th of January in Kazakhstan, and tonight we've reached the finale of the World Indoor Tour Gold. Meeting number 9 comes to you from the Spanish capital, Madrid, where prize bonuses of $10,000 and a ticket to the World Indoor Championships are up for grabs. There's also athletes chasing qualifying marks and competitive sharpness as we head into a month of major championships in March. Welcome to our 2 hours of live coverage around the world in the company of a sold-out crowd of 2,500 in the Gallur Municipal Sports Centre. And this is what we've got coming up for you over the course of the next couple of hours. Field events dominating our first 10 or 15 minutes of live coverage. Some cracking track action, and the women's triple jump should be competitive as well. Welcome along from myself, Chris Temple, in the company for this one of the world silver medalist over 1,500 metres, Hannah England, and we pick up straight away, Hannah, with the women's vault.
Thanks, Chris. It is great to have the focus on the field events for the first few minutes here in Madrid, and this women's pole vault field is very good, very competitive. Tina Šutej of Slovenia down there with number 7 next to her name on the start list leads the World Tour rankings at the moment. She's scored the most points so far in this season, and Molly that later this year, perhaps in Tokyo or maybe in Nanjing on the way. And Molly Caudry, it was almost a surprise win for her in Glasgow in front of a home crowd about 12 months ago, and went into the Olympic Games ranked best in the whole world. 492 clearance, but she couldn't convert that into a final position in Paris, let alone a podium position. So a bit of redemption for Molly Caudry this indoor season. There are the standings. Katie Moon not competing today, so she doesn't have a chance to add to that points tally. Tina Šutej leading the way by 5 points over Molly Caudry. But the points that we're going to be discussing today is 10 points for the win, 7 for second, 5th for third, 3 points for fourth. Did I say that right? And it's so that is what's up for grabs for these athletes today as they look to build on their team, their points totals.
Yeah, and it's worth saying as well that only the best athletes' best 3 scores from across the 9 events, and every single event isn't included in every single meeting. It's worth making that point as well. So a competitor can get 3 wins out of their best 3, maximum of 30 points. There's some good head-to-heads over the course of this meeting in the next couple of hours, including in the women's shot put, which will be on the way, as well as this Šutej v Caudry head-to-head for the World Indoor gold title, the $10,000, which is some very handy bonus prize money. And of course the wild card to the World Indoor Championships in Nanjing, which can also, as we'll explain through the next couple of hours, have knock-on effects for others as well.
I think it's every nation can send 2 athletes in each event. But if you get a wild card, if you've got a reigning champion or you get a wild card from winning the World Indoor Tour, your nation can then send 3 people. So I think this is sometimes when we get teammates really cheering on their domestic rivals because it unlocks another spot for their nation. But there'll be some athletes as well that for whatever reason, whether it's injury, whether it's competition availability, they won't perhaps have been able to jump as high or run as fast as they were hoping to, or pick up the ranking points they might need to get invited themselves. So this is kind of another way to make those major championships. But particularly when we look at those competitive nations, I think for me it is Dylan Beard in the men's 60-metre hurdles. He was 5th or 6th, I think, in their national championships, but he's got another chance tonight to get himself to Nanjing. And there's a few other athletes in that sort of boat.
And of course, it's an unusual month as well, because it's not often that the European indoors and the World indoors are in the same month. It's an unusual one because we still have this delayed World Indoor Championships from Nanjing in 2020, which has been slotted in at the first available opportunity this year. So the Europeans and the Worlds normally alternate. Of course, some of the other continental championships, the Asian champs, the South American champs, have already happened in the last couple of months or so. So for a lot of the athletes, the European-based athletes, some of them are targeting both because it's a good opportunity if you're in form to have potentially 2 medal shots in the space of a few weeks. Others are saying, well, actually, you know, the travel to China is going to be too difficult, so I'll prioritise the Europeans. Lots of extra sort of fact, and of course the World Championships outdoors being a little bit later than usual in September and being the climax to the season this year for the first time adds another extra sort of bit of calendar management and planning, doesn't it?
It is different. I mean, I think the current crop of athletes that we've got, they've had to operate in unprecedented times anyway. Their coaches will have had to rip up their plans that they would normally have made historically or over the last decade with the athletes they work with, because we've had such a strange concentration of major events in the last 5 years. I think athletes just got to be versatile, so I don't think this will feel weird to them this season. I think they'll just roll with it.
Take the chances while they're there is, I guess, the best advice, particularly if you think you're in a hunt for a medal, as a lot of these athletes will do. In the women's shot put, a small but select field of 6 lining up for this one, and this is one of those where the World Indoor title hinges on this evening's results between Sarah Mitten and Chase Jackson, who we'll meet in just a moment. First of all, Jackson has been suffering with quite a bit of illness in the run-up to this, since that US title as well. So we'll wait and see what she can put together today. But that's how the standings look. As we've been talking about, it's 10 points for a win. So Sarah Mitten has to win to deny Chase Jackson the title. And of course, if Chase Jackson finishes in the top 4, then Sarah Mitten cannot overhaul her at the top. There is a knock-on effect of that, which is that Jessica Ramsey of the US is waiting, because if Chase Jackson does win this World Indoor title and takes the wild card to Nanjing, then Jessica Ramsey, who finished 3rd in the US champs, would be selected for Nanjing. So there's immediately one of those knock-on effects, Hannah, that get these just sitting watching at home or wherever Jessica might be watching this with her feet up, wondering whether she go to China or not.
Well, there's a fair amount of camaraderie in the women's shot put anyway, but I think you could find Jessica Ramsey cheering even more than she ever would do normally for Chase Jackson to finish high enough to score those points and unlock those 3 spots for the US squad.
So Eliana Bandera, as we mentioned, will be going to the European Indoor Championships in the Netherlands next weekend. Those entries have all been finalised after most countries held their national championships last weekend. Selections have been made. A lot of countries are holding off, of course, on the World Indoor Championship selections until after the Europeans, because that can have an impact on rankings and who has qualifying standards and other things as well. So the first put of the competition will be Eliana Bandera of Portugal, whose best this season is 18 metres and 29, lifetime best of 18 metres and 49. As you can see there, those sector markings are at 17 and 19. The furthest throw in the world this year is off the right of that picture, 20 metres and 68 by Sarah Mitten, which is by 41 centimetres the furthest throw that anyone has managed, ahead of the Olympic champion Yemisi Ogunleye, who's managed 20-27. Just 4 puts, or 4 putters over 20 metres this year. Mitten and Jackson competing this evening, Ogunleye and Jessica Schilder of Netherlands, both of whom will be in Apeldoorn. Schilder trying to win a medal on home soil. Next to put, the Spanish champion, recorded 17.49 to win in this very arena, to win the Spanish title. Won't improve on that with that, and in fact steps out the front, as you can see from the fact that the official bailed out on the measuring halfway through there. Pretty much a full house for this one, 2,500.
I always remember Chase Jackson saying, I sort of asked you, why would you go out the front like that? Is it to kind of stop the officials having to do unnecessary work? And she said, no, it can really affect your confidence to have a bad mark up next to your name. Kind of, you know it's not going to be something you're proud of, just wipe the slate clean, don't have any evidence of it, erase it from your memory and move forward to that next attempt.
No one will ever know. Here's the European Indoor silver medalist from Sweden, Fanny Roos. She looks pretty satisfied with that one, just shy of the 19-metre mark, and she should be. That's going to be close to a season's best. 1882 in Dusseldorf, her best performance from a couple of weeks ago so far this year. She's up in the mid-19 metres with her best form. 18 metres 80, so just a couple of centimetres short of her best performance of this year of 2025 so far for Fanny Rus. Next to go will be Jessica Enxude, the Portuguese champion, who, as I mentioned, beat Oriol Dongmo on her way back from a broken leg by 18 centimetres in the Portuguese National Championships. Again, not quite as good as Rus, but a solid enough start for Jessica Enxude, who needed a personal best to beat Dongmo. That 19 metres 18 was an improvement on her best lifetime mark. So the big two in terms of medals and distances and expectations will be the final two to put in this opening round. The defending world indoor champion Sarah Mitten will be the next to go.
Now we're going to turn our attention to the track for the first time. We have got the pole vault and shot put going on the infield, but we've got two 800s for the men and two for the women. So this is the first one for the women up on your screen now. The times will get combined across the two races, and that's how we'll find our winner. And it's a late addition to this field for Grace Van Agnews. She wasn't on my start list, but the pacemaker on the outside, Prada of Spain, has been asked to go through in 59.5 seconds. And that'd be wonderful if these women can get close to the 2-minute mark. Grace Van Agnews was a great second place at the British Championships last week, and she has been selected for the European Championships. Daniela Garcia was third at the Spanish Championships. The winner, Barzabal, goes in the next heat. This is Kimberly Fitznets of Czechia. She goes in lane 4. Season's best and personal best indoors 2:03 at the Czech Indoor Gala. Lucia Juan of Spain takes lane 3, 4th at that Spanish National Championships. Bit of a rerun for some of these athletes, because this woman, Valme Prado, was 5th. So we've got 3rd, 4th and 5th from the National Championships for Spain from last week, all here in this race. There's a good opportunity perhaps for the likes of Daniela Garcia and Grace Van Agnews to lower their personal best to season's best set this season. Garcia, the European under-23 champion back in 2023. Bit of a stumble on the start line from her, though. Garcia looks very keen to get on terms with the early pacemaking duties here. Garcia in the yellow New Balance vest, Grace Van Agnews in the black one piece on the outside. These two just going with the pacemaker through the first 100 metres. Then we have got Fitznets in 3rd place, or 4th place if you include the pacemaker. It's a great opportunity for Garcia and Van Agnews. I'm sure they would have loved to have been in the A race, but sometimes those A races get super congested and they don't actually suit you as well. That's a really fast first 200 metres for these women, underneath 28 seconds.
Still a variety of standards and qualifying marks for these athletes to chase for world rankings throughout the rest of the year as well. So while some of them won't be targeting major championships coming up in the next few weeks, there's still a lot to work towards here, and working with each other, this leading group of 4, which is why we've got these pacers trying to take them through to decent times as they go through in 59 and a bit.
Fitznets has ran a very sensible first 400 metres there. The Czech athlete glided back up to the main group by that 400 metre mark, which they still reached in underneath 60 seconds. So it's a good clocking here from these women. Now, there's only one athlete that's gone under 2 minutes in Europe this season. That's Gemma Ricci. She did take herself out of this indoor season. She closed it down pretty early, but she trains with Grace Van Agnews. So when you're looking for sort of calibre and quality, this woman in 2nd place trains with one of the fastest in Europe in this season already. But Garcia is looking full of running as they go through 600 metres just outside 90 seconds. So these two are going to have to work hard, push each other if they're going to get down towards those low 2 minutes. Any time that they run today, particularly for Grace Van Agnew, that will affect her ranking as you look towards those European Championships, her seeding for the heats in Apeldoorn next week. So it's good race experience for the British athlete, and perhaps going to affect her ranking heading into that Championships. Grace Van Agnew's trying to kick hard here with Daniela Garcia. The local athlete Garcia trying to hold on in front of a home crowd. I think Van Agnew might have just about got that on the line after Daniela Garcia did so much of the leading. And around about 2:02 for the first two athletes, and it was a good effort from Fitznets in the end, the athlete from Czechia. She did get herself involved. She might be close to her personal best and season's best of 2:03.
Great finish between the two. We weren't quite in line, are we, with that finish line angle to tell on the dip whether Van Zagnew managed to just come through and take it. But again, growing with international experience, even in this B race, as you say, better to have it split into two manageable races, but we won't be able to tell from this angle. But Garcia for the home crowd, as you say, that's really close, isn't it?
It is, and again, remember the time from this heat, that's the time we're going to take forward into the A race. That's the time the A race athletes are going to have to aim at. We will combine these scores together. So I'm just waiting for the confirmed result between, there we go, it has been given to Grace Van Zagnew in a new personal best, 2:02.2. I think on my system it just flashed up with Daniela Garcia 100th behind. Let's hope they haven't changed their mind because it's disappeared off my system, but at the moment we think it is Van Zagnew first, Garcia second.
Sarah Mitten in round 2 of the women's shot put, as you saw there in 1881, with her first attempt, really having to fight to stay in the circle on that left-hand edge there. She managed, unfortunately, not to do so. Up goes the red flag. So a foul in round 2 for Sarah Mitten, who is nothing if not exceptionally consistent usually in the mid to upper 19 metres with her throws. Fouls are pretty rare for Sarah Mitten. She's normally very, very solid technically in the circle. As we see Chase Jackson then, who, as I mentioned, has been suffering with a bit of illness since the US Championships. A foul in the first round for her, and she's out over 19 metres. And that will take the lead in the early stages, our first put out over 19 in this competition. Remember, a win for Chase Jackson here confirms her as the World Indoor Tour champion in this discipline.
There's a lot of illness going around. I think it's hard to speak to anyone that's not suffered with something in the last 6 weeks. But if you think about trying to spin as fast as you can, if you're feeling a little bit off, that's going to be pretty hard. And that's a great effort from Chase Jackson in the second round there to go out to 19 metres 26. We talk about the endurance events, sort of if you're carrying a cold, that's going to hamper you. But the technical events as well, it's really hard to kind of hit your timing and hit your rhythm if you're not 100%.
Only 4 other athletes have thrown further than that 19.26 this year for Chase Jackson, just to put that into a bit of context. One of whom is Sarah Mitten in this field today. As we see the women's pole vault.
The bar is up to 4:25 in the women's pole vault. Clara Fernandez is gearing up for her second attempt. We've had Niara Perez with 2 failures at this height. Mola Narolo, Adamapulu, Aris and Zhu all clear at 4:25. Tina Schutte, Molly Caudry, they've passed at this height. So the 2 Spanish athletes, Fernandez and Perez, the last ones battling it out at 4:25. Fernandez was second at the Spanish National Championships. And this would equal the new personal best she set here last week. That's to be third time lucky for Fernandez. Be so many athletes across the world that would have poured a lot of emotion into last week, trying to do the very best they can at their national championships, and to come back out again, 5 days later, and find a little bit extra. That's pretty tough. But Fernandez, hopefully, one last attempt here, she can find that height. So I feel that the overall height there she achieved with her body was high enough, but it was messy. Her limbs were in the way, knocking down that bar.
The window for qualifying marks, by the way, I'll come back to in a second.
Confirmation of that B final for the women's 800. Grace Van Agnews with a new personal best, 2:02.20. Daniela Garcia personal best as well, just 100th behind, but also a personal best for Fitsenets of Czechia in third.
There's line-up for our men's 800 metres B race. The qualification window, I was going to say, for the Nanjing World Indoors is open till the 9th of March to get standards, and the 12th of March to be in the top lists, which is how the fields will be made up. If not, if enough athletes have the standards, it's all on the World Athletics website. If you want to see who's where on the road to Nanjing Tool, as we see our pacer on the outside, Alejandro Matienzo in this first race, the men's 800 metres B race. Marco Rufo is off a lifetime best of 1:47 in the Spanish Championships, where he finished in 5th place. There's the famous Barcelona colours of Pablo Sanchez Valladares, also off a 1:46.5 PB this year. The fastest man in the field in terms of pedigree is the European Under-23 champion from a couple of years ago, Simone Barantini. Abdelassem Ayouni, national record holder outdoors of Tunisia, and on the inside, David Barroso, who finished or made the final of the Spanish Championships with 1:47.9. Out of these athletes, only Simone Barantini of Italy is heading for the European Indoor Championships. They've asked for 52 seconds through the first 400 metres for this one, with Matteo Enzo on the outside leading the charge. Barantini potentially might have felt himself a little bit unlucky not to be in the A race this time around, but it's Sanchez Valladares in the Barcelona colours who comes to the front behind the pacemaker as we go through, and they're looking to go through, as I say, 400 metres in 52. Those estimated times that you see in the graphics, of course, can be a little bit misleading early in the race because particularly in the longer distances, the pace will increase as we get through the second half of the race. But at the moment, pretty steady behind the pacemaker, who's they're not really interested in following him pretty tightly at the minute.
There's a lot of big names in this second race coming up, and I wonder if these 5 men are just saying we're not going to be able to compete with the times they're going to put out in the A final. Let's just have a go. Let's have a go at racing. And Barantini, I think he's a bit short on races this season as we head into Apeldoorn. He might be an athlete, the Italian, who's back in 4th place at the moment, thinking, how can I practice the rounds? Get some practice in, ready for that first round in Apeldoorn. Because the Spanish athlete, well, maybe he's just struggling a bit at the back, as the athletes do get on the back of the pacemaker as he comes through the 500 metre mark. It will be the bell when they come round this time, and Sanchez Valladares still looking full of running.
So through they go in 1:21.4. Sanchez Valladaro at the front here for Spain. The home crowd, of course, will be, well, they've got 4 of the 6 athletes in this race, so there's got to be a very strong chance of home success. Ayouni of Tunisia now looking to try and make his move. Maybe he'll save something for the straight here. It's always better to pass on the straights rather than wasting that extra energy around the bend, but you can run out of time. Ayouni looks like he's not going to catch Sanchez Valladares out front, who was very keen to get himself to the front behind the pacemaker early on, and nobody got by him in the end. So Madrid and Barcelona might have a pretty big rivalry in other sports, but the Madrid crowd will be still pretty happy to see a winner in Barcelona and Spanish colours in this men's 800 metres B race.
Pablo Sanchez Valladares off that personal best last week. If he can run 1:46 last week, I think he's probably within himself in a 1:47 race here. And even though he did a lot of that leading, because they were so far behind the pacemaker, he dragged them back to the pacemaker and then had to lead that whole last 300. I think perhaps when you've got a second buffer, that's why he was able to be so strong in the closing stages and pull away from the rest of the field.
Well, it was a surprising performance of Barantini, who, as I mentioned at the start, was the only one who was is heading for the European indoors. But look at that, he's not even in the frame. I mean, did he even actually finish? Keeping an eye out at the back there, he can't have finished. He must have stepped off.
No, and that's problematic, isn't it, for Simone Barantini? Just a few days to go to those European Championships.
So confirmation there that Barantini didn't in the end finish, but the one who came home in front was Pablo Sanchez Valladares of Spain in that 1:47.78. The men's 800 metres, by the way, is not one of the scoring events in the World Indoor Tour this year. Those events are rotated year on year, so every indoor event that is not on the scoring programme this year will be on the scoring programme next year. But often, depending on the calibre of athletes and where the meetings are being held, that's how the organisers have the choice to decide to include whichever events they think will be most beneficial for their programme, maybe to sell a few tickets as well. It all comes into the mix. As we go back to the shot put and see Eliana Bandera to start round number 4. In fact, she's the second putter to go in round 4. These are live pictures. Bandera currently in 5th place with her 3rd round effort of 18 metres and 9 centimetres. She's 20 centimetres shy of her personal best so far this year. Season's best, I should say, and that's not going to be an improvement. Short of the 17-metre mark, and again, she's happy to not have that one measured. The World University Games silver medalist from 2023. As you can see on that graphic, Chase Jackson improved in the 3rd round to 19 metres 37. So any under the weatherness of Chase Jackson, certainly not showing at the moment as she leads the field, albeit Sarah Mitten hasn't crossed the 19-metre mark yet.
Molina Rollo of Italy on the runway now. This is her first attempt at 440. Molina Rollo, so inspired when she made the final in Budapest. It was a personal best in the qualification stages to make that final. And I think she ended up 6th or 7th or so in another personal best. Roberta Bruni, still the national record holder for Italy. But this woman doing very, very well alongside her as well. So that was a smooth clearance, another first-time clearance. So she joins Imogen Ayres of New Zealand is over at 440. But just those two so far. They can sit and wait as the other athletes jump on. Everyone trying to go up to the 455 still passes so far. We might see Tina Schutte in a moment, perhaps. It's not quite registered as a pass yet for the Slovenian.
We join the world indoor champion, Sarah Minton, who's only needed one put over 20 metres this year, and that was her joint North American indoor record, or sorry, an outright North American indoor record of 20.68. We're going to get closer to Chase Jackson. She prefers that one. Over 19 metres for the first time in this competition. Needs to be 19.38 to take the lead. More control on that left side. We saw her fall out earlier on. It's going to be very close to that Chase Jackson mark. In fact, it's exactly the same, 19 metres and 37, but on count back with a better second best put, Jackson retains the lead. Jessica Intruder, 18 metres 88 so far. Fresh off that personal best of 19.18, so she's maintaining a good form.
I think it's interesting to go from Sarah Minton with that rotation. She's so quick on the rotation, and she's refining that straight to Intruder, who still glides. Look at her and Oriol Dongmo. They use totally different techniques to many of the other women at the top of the rankings in the shot, but Intruder and Dongmo, they're kind of sticking in there with the glide and making it happen. They're still very competitive on the global stage, where many people would say, you can't be competitive if you're gliding.
Well, there you go, personal best. Number 3 in Europe this year is Jessica Intruder, not with that last one, which she fell out the front. We go back to the track and the men's A race in the 800 metres. And this one has a number of names who are heading for Apeldoorn, as well as Jonah Koech over from USA, finalist. Callum Dodds of Great Britain as well. So Callum Dodds on the outside, who just missed the national record in the 600 metres earlier on this month. Didn't contest the British Championship final over 800 metres. He's a reserve for the European Indoor Champs in Apeldoorn. We saw Rojo, the pacemaker there. There's Jonah Koech, who finished 5th in the US Championships behind that North American record from Josh Hoey. Adrian Ben and Alvaro Diarriba, two of the most experienced and successful Spanish middle distance runners, sharing a lane. Catalin Tekuceanu, the European bronze medalist outdoors over 800 metres, won this last year. He's drawn in 3. In the yellow, Peter Sisk, who's been pretty lightly raced so far this year, actually contested the 1500 metres at the Belgian Championships, which he won. And Patrick Sieradski of Poland, their national silver medalist. And on the inside, Moad Zahavi, a Texas-based Moroccan. They've asked to go through halfway in 51 here. The World Indoor Qualifying mark, by the way, matches that exact meeting record from Tekuceanu of 145 flat. Which not many of these athletes have, and that will be something in their sights as well, because it's very competitive to get in either on standards or on top rankings. This is going to be busy through this first 100, 150 metres. Already a bit of bumping and barging there as Peter Sisk just had to lay a hand on the back of Jonah Koech to get himself into his running. But the pacer are going to take them through in 51 through halfway.
Tekuceanu has done a whole load of races this season. They've all gone pretty well. He was 4th in Glasgow last season, then on the podium at the European Championships. He knows his way round these 800-metre races, whether it's on the circuit in their pacemate or whether it's championship racing. So the Italian in the driving seat at the moment, in that position behind the pacemaker, and it's quick. They're spread out across the track, and if people have judged this wrong, we could see some athletes fly through in the second half of the race.
So it's Tekuceanu, Callum Dodds of Great Britain, then comes Jonah Koech and Peter Sisk Yes, then it's Zahafi of Morocco and the two experienced Spaniards at the back of the field at the moment in Adrian Ben and Alvaro de Arriba as the pacemaker moves aside, sort of through the traffic there. It wasn't the most seamless pacemaker exit you've ever seen, but the big move around the outside being made, coming into the home straight on this third lap, I should say, by Adrian Ben, who swept round everybody. Zahavi trying to get himself out a bit of room now as well. Callum Dodds, though, is sticking to that move made by Adrian Ben. Koech is trying to go with them as well, but the home crowd at the moment trying to inspire Adrian Ben, the defending European indoor champion who won't defend his title in Apeldoorn. Callum Dodds, though, still sticking to him. Has he got enough left, Dodds, to make a strike in the home straight? Ben, though, lifted by this crowd, looks like he's going to hold off all challenges, and it will be Adrian Ben, who came from nearly last to first. Koech ahead of Dodds for second and third. It's a popular victory in the Spanish capital for the European indoor champion, Adrian Ben.
The Spanish middle distance men's squad is obscene at the moment. So Adrian Ben, you said it, Chris, in the final and closing stages there. He's the reigning European indoor champion from Istanbul, and he's not on the team. I think it was he fourth or fifth in Tokyo. It was a wonderful run there. And then he struggled. He was back into form for Istanbul, and he looks like he's struggled again in the last couple of years. But that was a wonderful run. He came from miles back in the closing 300 metres.
Well, tactically, that will be so interesting to watch that move there, because he was one from the back. Him and De Arriba were parked at the back for most of the first 250 metres. He came sweeping around the outside. As you say, a personal best, Hannah, by the best part of 0.3 of a second as well. That's his first 800 metres of the year. That's a terrific performance from Adrian Ben. And there'll be a few in the European 800 metres in Apeldoorn. Will be pretty happy that he isn't on the team, I would think now. Good run from Callum Dodds of Great Britain, by the way, as well. One we'll definitely be seeing more regularly on these major international meetings as we go back to the shot put and see Jessica Intruder in round 5. Confirmation there that Koech just pipped Callum Dodds, but a new lifetime best for the British athlete as well. That is a big lifetime best as well, 1:47.28. That's about a second and a half personal best for Callum Dodds. Chase Jackson, round 5 of the women's shot put, consistent series so far, but she's gone out the front left there, and that will be a red flag in round 5. She's got further with each of her 3 legal throws, as you can see there, and holding that narrow advantage over Mitten. And at the moment, Chase Jackson looking good for that $10,000 US. And the wild card to the World Indoors, which is also looking good for Jessica Ramsey of the US, who would step up to the team if Jackson wins this. Starting the final round of the women's shot put with Maria Toimil. Gave it the raw. She has been out over 17 metres a couple of times already in this competition, so that won't be an improvement for Jessica Maria Toimil, the Spanish champion. Confirmation of her final round mark of 17 metres and 10 centimetres. So 6th place for Maria Toimil, just shy of her best performance of 2025 so far.
We had a men's triple jump earlier on this afternoon. Lazaro Martinez of Cuba is the best jumper of the day, and I think we're having a look at his best attempt here. It came in the 4th round, 17 metres and 12. The 2022 World Indoor Champion and 2023 World Championship bronze medalist Martinez led the whole competition. 16:42, 16:74, 16:72, and then this 17:12. Then passed his 5th round, and then 15:86 for round 6 when he knew had the competition won. So that is a small season's best for Lazaro Martinez as he looks towards another global podium perhaps in Nanjing. Hugues Fabrice Zango in his first indoor competition of the year, 2nd in 16:55, and Tiago Pereira was 3rd in 16:35.
8 athletes lining up for the women's triple jump, which we're about to get underway with live, headed by the world leader by some margin. We'll see her in a second, but here's Janne Nielsen, first of all, of Denmark, with 14 metres and 62. And that is how the World Indoor Tour standing. So this one is all to play for between Leonis Perez Hernandez and Nea Filipic. Jasmine Moore had been due to compete in this meeting, but some travel and visa issues meant that unfortunately Jasmine Moore not in the field. So it's a straight fight for the overall title between Filipic and Perez Hernandez. Final round of the women's shot put. Jessica Intruder is in 3rd position overall. She has crossed 19 metres. I mentioned with that personal best in winning the Portuguese Championships. Can she do so again here across the border in Madrid? Currently in 3rd position behind Mitten and Jackson. Well, it nearly coincided, the slap of the thigh, with that huge thud of the shot put hitting the back of the woodwork there, or metalwork. Frustration for Intruder, who isn't improving on her 18 metres and 88. 18 metres and 19 for Jessica Intruder, who will finish in 3rd position. So it comes down to a big final throw then, the last 2 puts of the competition between the World Outdoor Champion and the World Indoor Champion. This is the World Indoor Champion. From Brooklyn, Nova Scotia, Sarah Mitten. Of course, had a disappointing Olympic Games where she finished well down the field, but here needs 1949. No, couldn't hold it together, unfortunately. She knew she had to go for a big one, and unfortunately couldn't keep a lid on the forward momentum out to the left-hand side, so it's going to be a 2nd place finish for Sarah Mitten. A consolatory shake of the hand from Chase Jackson.
It's that nimble footwork there, trying to stay behind the line. She couldn't quite manage it. But I think when you see an athlete like that really pushing the envelope and trying to find something extra with that final throw, it's exciting, even though it ended up in a foul. You kind of feel there's fight there, and there could be a further distance as we look towards Nanjing.
Chase Jackson then already has the competition won with 19 metres and 48. And what's she done with that one? She's gone over 19 metres again to close the competition. So that is 4 out of 6 legal throws, well over 19 metres for Chase Jackson. Confirmed as the World Indoor Tour Champion in the women's shot put. She takes the $10,000 US prize and the wild card to the World Indoor Championships in Nanjing. Final round of 19 metres and 44. And congratulations, Jessica Ramsey.
And that's great consistency there from Chase Jackson. You know, she's been struggling, never mind the travel, coming all the way from New York and the US Championships all the way back to Europe, even though this is where she lives and trains in Europe. That'll take a toll on the body, never mind picking up a sickness on the way. So to have that many throws over 19 metres against one of her fiercest competitors for that World Indoor title, I think that's pretty impressive from Chase Jackson.
Yeah, Sarah Mitten, that's a 3rd, in fact that's 4 meetings out of 5 this season when Sarah Mitten hasn't finished on top of the list. So that'll be firing up her competitive instincts, I'm sure. Confirmation, it was an 11-centimetre victory for the World Outdoor Champion over the World Indoor Champion, with Jessica Intruder of Portugal in 3rd.
Mona Narolo at 450, I think, now in the women's pole vault. 455 is where the bar is at. We had Molly Caudry, Tina Sciute, Imogen Eris over 455. The Italian and Adamopoulou of Greece are going to have their 3rd and final attempts at this height.
465, it starts to get interesting in terms of the World Indoor Standards, World Indoor Qualifiers, Hannah, because at the moment that is in on the top list. The standard is 475, which is very tough. So in pole vault, there's only 12 places. So if you're around about 465, you're going to be in the shake-up, aren't you, potentially, depending on national selection procedures, for a place in Nanjing.
But to have only 12 athletes in those pole vault finals, it's very, very elite.
Sestanaro, meanwhile, in the triple, short of 13 metres in that 1st round. Only one athlete, talking of standards, only one athlete has the World Indoor Qualifying Standard in the women's triple jump of 14 metres and 60, and that is Leanis Perez, who's in this field. So that will tell you how tough the standard is in this one. She's got an unbelievable chance of winning a first global gold with Rojas missing.
And Tia Lafon did step up to kind of fill that Rojas void, if you like, with that win in Glasgow and then winning the Olympic Games. There's been no sign of Tia Lafon this indoor season so far, I don't think. So you're right, you're looking to the likes of Leanis Perez Hernandez to perhaps fill those shoes and stand on top of the podium. We've had one 800-metre race for the women already, won by Grace Van Agnew of Great Britain and Northern Ireland in 2:02.2. So that's the target for these women if they want to win overall. Elena Bello took the win in Belgrade in 2:03. It was a very good tactical run. She's actually run a 9:08 3K the other day, which is pretty impressive for an 800-metre specialist. So Bello certainly got the endurance, and she could need that through the rounds of the championships this indoor season. Worknesh Masela of Ethiopia was 6th in Paris, 1:58.28, so she's got the fastest time on paper from this field. Tajis Girma goes in lane 4, the 22-year-old. It's a season's best of 2:02. Lorea Barzabal, who has Podorno on her chest, I'm not sure if that's a married name or another Spanish surname, but Barzabal won Spanish national championships in 2:07, but she went 66.61, which is crazy splits. That's championship running for you. Agathe Guillemot of France is a 1500-metre specialist. It's great to see her having a go over a shorter distance. She's the national record holder indoor and outdoors for France over that distance. Patricia Silva of Portugal shared that lane 2 with the French woman. And Anita Horvat is a silver medalist from Istanbul at those European Indoor Championships, but she's drawn lane 1 here in Madrid. There's the indoor tour standings. Sige Daguma is top of the pile. Someone has to win this race and run faster than her 1:59.02 from Levan to take the title away from the Ethiopian. It might happen, it's possible, but you've got to feel like Sige Daguma has wrapped up this World Indoor Tour gold. This field have got a lot to fight for. It's a busy, competitive field. Good to see Horvat get a fast start in lane 1. Sometimes you can get swallowed up and barged around if you're on the inside, but the Slovenian has protected her position well. She slots into 3rd behind the 2 Ethiopians. The pacemaker's been asked to go 58.5. It's a little bit quick through the first 200 metres, but that's what they had in the B final as well. Remember that 2:02.2 is the target for these women, and the pacemaker probably had to do that to get ahead of this field. Look at Agathe Guillemot, the French woman, all the way at the back, the 1500 metre specialist. I'm sure she's going to come flying through. But at the moment, Tajis Girma and Worknesh Masela, the 2 Ethiopians, giving themselves an easy job here. They're out of trouble and they're leading the race, and I'm sure they'll be confident in taking up the running as the pacemaker steps aside.
Only 7 times sub 2 minutes in the world this year. The Nanjing qualifier is 2 minutes flat, which is a little bit quicker than they're aiming for here. But Guillemot at the back, as you mentioned, you're going to have to do an Adrienne Ben style from the back to the front if she's going to take a hold at the front of this race and get past the Ethiopian pair. And
Tajis Girma, I mentioned that 1:58 she ran to come 6th. At the Olympic Games, so she's very, very comfortable. Apologies, that was Masela, the woman in 2nd place. She's the one that came 6th at the Olympic Games, and there she goes. Now she's trying to stamp her authority on this field. Under 90 seconds through 600 metres, so you feel like we're going to get the fastest time from this field. We will have the overall winner here in the event from this A final, as expected. Worknesh Masela, she put a burst in to take the lead through the bell, but she's not getting away from this field at all. Anita Horvat, this is one of the best runs she's had in the last 18 months or so. Anita Horvat, she used to be a 400 metre specialist. She moved up to 800 very well, made the final in Eugene, but she's not performed quite at that level since. Anita Horvat is going to take a wonderful win here over a very, very good crowd, a very good field. That's a season's best. 2:10.3, a really calm run there from Horvat. I mentioned that tough lane draw, lane 1. She committed to getting out hard, putting herself in a good position, and then kind of gathered from there. I think when you've put a big effort in the first lap, it's hard to judge that effort perfectly and not pay for it in the later stages. But Anita Horvat, that's exactly the sort of run that will see you into a European Indoor Championship final and perhaps see you on the podium again. Horvat, that silver medal from Istanbul, I'm sure she'd love another trip to the podium. And look at Guillemot, the French woman, finishing like an absolute train. I don't think she quite gets back to Masela, but a good 3rd place for her as she looks towards the 1500 at those championships.
Well, a brilliant run from Horvat, as you say, a real confidence booster at just the right time going into those European Indoor Championships. Guillemot did finish slightly proverbial train in the end, but just left herself too much to do. There was too big a gap when that break was made after the pacer left.
Our first look at Tina Schutte. She cleared 4:40 at the first time, 4:55, and that was 4:65 for the Slovenian. Good couple of moments for the Slovenians, so the win from Horvat and a clean scorecard for Schutte. And I mentioned when we were doing the introductions, Tina Schutte, she's been in the top 5 in those major outdoor competitions numerous times, and you just felt like the momentum was going her way towards Paris. And then she injured her bicep before the European Championships, and that really impeded her in Rome and ultimately impeded her in Paris as well. So a real shame for Chute, but she does look back to full fitness this indoor season.
As we prepare to see Leanis Perez in the triple jump for the first time, that Anita Horvat time, by the way, has propelled her up into the top positions in terms of the world indoor rankings for Nanjing. There are 30 places in the women's 800 metres. She was outside it before that run, and now she's inside it. It's not quite the standard, but she's given herself a great chance of being inside the top 30. Lots can move around, of course, but she's in a better position now than she was about 2 minutes and 1 second before the start of that race. As we see Perez asking for the crowd support, the world leader, 14 metres and 62 so far this year, 5 centimetres further than her compatriot from Cuba, Leodagmis Povea. Here goes Perez Hernandez, who's been well over 14 metres in all 3 competitions so far this year, just chopped into the board there and still manages to get out over 14 centimetres. Looked like there was an adjustment coming into the board from Perez. But she'll get a white flag, and this will tell us how good that angle is, because that looks over 14 metres from this angle. And indeed it is, as you can see behind the rakers there, 14 metres and 42 for Perez Hernandez. Only her and Povea have jumped further than that this year. Fantastic start to her quest, potentially for a world indoor gold. Of course, with so many athletes and major championships happening at different times, tracking everybody's intentions with regard to major championships at this time of year can be hard. But if she's going to be a favourite, Perez Hernandez.
So Molina Rollo did make it over 4:55 with her 3rd and final attempt. This is her 2nd attempt at 4:65. Molina Rollo eyeing up perhaps the top 6, top 7, top 8 or so as we look towards Apeldoorn. It's about delivering your best performances on the day in the pole vault. How many times, if you can just find 460, 470 in those championship finals, deliver it under pressure, it can put you on a podium. But Molina Rollo is going to need a 3rd and final attempt at 4:65.
We're back in the triple jump with Elda Romeva in round 2 for Spain, just 18 years of age. Personal best performance in the Spanish Championships, where she finished in 2nd position with 13 metres and 22. Pretty quickly out of the pit, which, as we always say, is usually a pretty good sign as to how that one has felt. All the component parts coming together for the athletes. At 12:52, you can see on the right-hand side of that board was her 1st round mark, her best mark so far. That's an improvement, 13 metres and 9 for Romeva. Not too far away from that new lifetime best of 13:22. That has her in 3rd position so far. Next to go will be Ottavia Sestanaro in 6th position with 12:64. She finished in the silver medal position in the Italian Championships in Ancona. Set her personal best of 14:22 in this city a couple of years ago. Loves it in Madrid. That looks to be an improvement for Sestanaro if she gets the white flag. One over 13 metres. (13:47), a considerable improvement for Sestanaro, close towards her season's best.
Here's confirmation of that women's 800-metre A race. Anita Horvat of Slovenia with a new indoor personal best, 2:35. Worknesh Masela, a season's best for the Olympic finalist, 2:65. And a great personal best indoors for Agate Guillemot as well. So Tasika Daguma does stay as the winner overall of the World Indoor Tour. She takes that $10,000 bonus and a wild card into the World Indoor Championships. But as defending champion, I think she would have had the wild card anyway. So I think that gives us 3 Ethiopians rather than 4, if you like. We're going to have a quick look back at the B men's 400 metres. The A race is coming up. This is the A race.
This is the A race, and that is Iñaki Cañal, the Spanish champion, ranked number 3 in Europe this year. It's a big race for Brian Faust of USA, who can win the World Indoor overall title with victory here, and that would book him his only possible route to the World Indoors. The 2021 European Indoor champion, Oscar Husios of Spain, twice a winner of this race. Manuel Guijarro, who has a World Indoor relay medal from the Belgrade edition in 2022. And on the inside will be João Coelho of Portugal, also heading for the European Indoors. But Brian Faust, as you can see there, is 5 points behind Attila Molnar, who was a late withdrawal with illness from this meeting. 10 points for the victor, remember. 7 for second place. So in the top 2 places here will be enough for Brian Faust, one from the outside in the yellow and black colours, to book himself a trip to China on the US team. The men's 400 metres A race. Bit of noise in the arena there, a bit of feedback it sounded like. Just delaying the start slightly. So the tension for the athletes inside the arena. Spain's 2 representatives, by the way, in the European Indoor Championships are both in this race. Iñaki, or 2 of them, 2 of the 3 available. Iñaki Cañal and Oscar Husios there. They're both heading for the European Indoors. Green cards, so faulty and unsatisfactory start from the starters marksman. And we go again in the men's 400 metres. Furthest from the camera, Cañal of Spain, Faust in 5, USA. Husios, Spain in 4, Guijarro, Spain in 3. And on the left of picture, Coelho, Portugal. Well, Brian Faust of the USA was the US Indoor champion last year. He finished 4th in the race won by Chris Bailey this time around in New York. But he's already up on Cañal around the outside from the helpful lane 5. Husios battling on in lane 4 as well, trying to get to the break first. But it's been a positive first 200 metres at the bell for Brian Faust, who takes them through in 21.35. Top 2 positions enough for him to take the overall title, remember. Faust from Cañal and Husios with around about 50 metres still to go. Brian Faust looking strong at the front, though. His destination firmly in his eyes is Nanjing, and that is where Brian Faust is heading, to the World Indoor Championships as he wins the World Indoor Tour. 45.75, a season's best performance from the American, who came across the pond to do a job and got that job done.
I think hats off to Brian Faust there. The emotions that will have gone through his head coming home in 4th place in New York last weekend and knowing that wasn't enough to qualify for the US team and having to gather and get here and try and make it happen. Attila Molnar was the leader overall on the World Indoor Tour, but the Hungarian not here, and I think Brian Faust must have felt like everything was lining up in his favour, and that was a great effort for him to get ahead of the 2 Spanish athletes into the bell, and I think he was then able to relax, and that enabled him just to lift that pace, lift that speed. He should have been full of tension. This was a big race for him, but instead I think by getting that pole position he was then able to relax on that second lap and in the end dominate this men's 400 metres.
Well, it will be a second World Indoor Championships for Brian Faust, who contested the heats in Glasgow last year but went no further than that. That's a top 20 performance in the world this year. Of course, not everybody on that top list can be at the World Championships. Chase Jackson, the 11-centimetre victor in the women's shot put over Sarah Mitten, with Jessica Inchula continuing her good form in third. And that's how the women's overall standings in the World Indoor Tour finished up. The $10,000 and that Nanjing wildcard going to the USA's World Outdoor Champion, Chase Jackson.
It's our first look at the Kiwi athlete Imogen Ayres. Going well, second time clearance at 4.65, very solid from her, but she is on a third and final attempt at 4.70, which I think would be a new lifetime best indoors or out. She's already jumped the highest she's ever done with a 4.67 this season.
We see Leonis Perez, meanwhile, in the triple jump, trying to improve on 14 metres and 42 so far. To wait for that distance, I was just going to say on Imogen Ayres, there's been a good link up between the New Zealand vaulters like Olivia McTaggart and Imogen Ayres with the setup at Loughborough in Great Britain under Scott Simpson. Imogen Ayres has just moved over full-time to the UK this year for the first time. She's been in great early season form, had a bit of illness trouble, had to pull out of a meeting late with illness, but training partner of Molly Caudry. And Imogen Ayres here, as you say, looking to scale new heights.
And New Zealand have got such a strong tradition of pole vaulting. Of course, Eliza McCartney was phenomenal as a junior athlete, and she's managed to get herself back up to those high 4-metre jumps. And Imogen Ayres actually lists Eliza McCartney as one of her heroes, and I think whenever athletes fill that in, I don't know what age she was when she filled that in, but to now be competing alongside her, I think probably is a pinch me moment for the 24-year-old. She's in the world ranking quota for Nanjing. But as we look towards the European Championships next week, the likes of Ayres and other athletes, non-European athletes, are not going to have many opportunities to compete. This is kind of their last chance to stress test their tactics and their technique before they head towards Nanjing. So Ayres now, third and final attempt at a new personal best. That's close. I think Ayres got a lot to be excited about by that clearance, because we haven't seen much of her so far this competition. You know, we have been having lots and lots of field event action going on. I think we're joining this pole vault now as the bar goes up to 470, 475 or so. You can see that frustration there from Ayres. Not far off at all, and she's not at the end of that pole either. If you look, she's not right on the end of that pole. That's something perhaps she could work on in the next 2 or 3 weeks as they go into Nanjing. Is that Scott Simpson's? Probably. It is Scott Simpson.
Is that his right hand? Yeah.
And I think Imogen Ayres will know that 470 is possible, and if she can recreate that in Nanjing, that puts her right in sort of the medal zone. It's 475, Katie Moon's bronze medal from last time round in Glasgow. So time for lots of laps of the track. The women's 3,000 metres is next up. Meeting record is Gurav Segai's 8:22.65. The world lead is for Wayne Hailu at 8:19 from Levant. And Hailu, she's got the most points at the moment. You can see her there with 20 points. So pretty much for Wenwei Hailu has got this wrapped up unless someone else can run a world lead, which, I mean, I don't know, you don't like to put limits on these young Ethiopians, and you've got the likes of Berke Hailu and Lomi Muleta down there. You just never know what they're capable of. But Berke Hailu was in that 8:19 race, and she ran a world under 20 record of 8:25, so that could perhaps be her limit, but we'll find out in the next 10 minutes or so. Carla Gallardo of Spain will go in lane 1. Knight Akiru of Uganda goes in lane 2. Federica Del Buono of Italy goes in lane 3, moving up the distances really well, turning into a good 5,000, 10,000 metre runner with a 1,500 metre starting career. Marta Serrano goes in lane 4 for Spain. Steeplechaser, under 23 European champion over that discipline. There's Lomi Muleta, Olympic Games finalist over steeplechase. And there's Berke Hailu, the world under 20 record holder over 1,500 metres and 3,000 metres indoors. Gate Khan of Latvia goes in lane 7, the national record holder, all the age group stuff. And there's the pacemaker on the outside, Rosalia Tarraga of Spain. They've asked for 2:52 per kilometre. That would equal out at 8:36, which I think, well, we know Berke Hailum can go faster than that. Lomi Muleta can probably go faster than that. So whether the Ethiopians will be content to stick with that pace and try and have a burn up over the last kilometre, I'm not sure. Or whether that 8:36 is something perhaps someone like Federica Del Buono is targeting. We'll just have to wait and see as these laps unfold. But Taraga going well at the front at the moment, and Berke Hailum is so used to just trying to stick with the likes of Gudav Sege and Fuenwe Hailu for as long as she can. It's going to be a little bit different for Berke Hailum in this race today. She's going to have to employ some different tactics and perhaps step up and control the race instead of looking to her older teammates to do it for her.
It's quite a small field, isn't it, for 3,000 metres at this level as well. Not often you see 8, which will allow, or 7, not including the pacemaker, of course, which, as you can see, is already fragmenting into 2 groups of 4 effectively. That 8:37 pace just outside the World Indoor qualifier mark. There are only 15 places available in the World Indoors in Nanjing because it's a straight final over the 3,000 metres. No heats in that as we go back to Molly Caudry in the pole vault.
Clean scorecard so far for Molly Caudry. This is her first attempt at 4:80 and she's miles over that. She's done a lot of jumps though, Caudry. She came in at 4:40. She didn't do the British Champs last week, so we haven't seen her since the Keeley Classic, but that is a season's best for Caudry. Apologies, that was 4:75 we've seen from Caudry, so a personal best for the Brit, and that puts her in first place at the moment. Tina Schutte is just struggling with that 4:75 bar at the moment. Bang on target at the moment for the 8:35, 8:36. Good job from Rosalia Taraga of Spain. Berke Hailum right behind her, Lomi Muleta as well. Federica Del Buono, a bronze medalist at the European Indoor Championships back in 2015. And she's a very, very good 1,500 metre runner, but the Italian 1,500 metre team is just going from strength to strength, and it's almost forced Del Buono up the distances. And she did make the Olympic Games, I think, over 5,000 metres, and she did a very good 10,000 last summer, so reinventing herself with laps and laps of the track. But Del Buono, she's really tough, and she's trying to hold on to Muleta and Hailum here. And I think Del Buono could be pulled to a personal best if she can just stick in there. Her best is around about 8:48, 8:49 or so. But the Ethiopians, they'll be chomping at the bit here, Berke Hailum. She's used to going faster. She's used to being on her limit. And I expect when the pacemaker steps aside, Berke Hailum might kind of inject a pace and stretch away from Muleta and Del Buono.
Really good test for Del Buono as well. This is only her second race of the year. Ran in Karlsruhe in 8:57, which, as you mentioned, is well outside her capabilities, but obviously working hard over the winter to put some fitness in those legs. She is heading for the European Indoors, is Del Buono, so this is an important race sharpener for her, with a couple of top-level Ethiopians in front of her, and Hailum just opening up that gap on Muleta, who is a steeplechaser outdoors. 8th placer in the steeplechase final in the Paris Olympics was Lomi Muleta, currently racing in 3rd position. Knight Asiru, by the way, back in 5th position out of the shot at the moment. It's her 3,000 metre debut today. She's been more accustomed at 1,500 metres, so this is a fact-finding mission for her as well, just out of the picture, leading that second group.
Lomi Muleta, you mentioned she's so good over steeplechase, and I think you so often get these absolute outright steeplechase specialists, and it's totally mind-boggling, you know, when they can't necessarily back it up. We're looking at an Olympic top 8 finisher, and she's struggling at the moment behind a junior athlete, but again, these Ethiopian juniors are something else. So Tina Schutte has her 3rd and final attempt at 4:75 meters, nearly enough to keep Schutte in the battle with Caudry. And the frustration there for Tina Schutte is not only is that a defeat today, that means that she loses the World Indoor Tour competition overall. Molly Caudry wasn't that far behind her coming into this. She was on 17 points. I think that gives her the win, or does it tie them on points? This is where you forget to add up what Tina Schutte. So Tina Schutte.
Well, if Tina Schutte finishes second, then Schutte will win the title.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. She looked like she was disappointed there, but okay, we think Tina Schutte will hold on to the World Indoor Tour overall, but not the competition here in Madrid, as Berke Hailum has broken free of Lomi Muleta. Federica Del Buono still in no person's land there in 3rd place ahead of Marta Serrano. Serrano moving really well, the Spanish athlete in front of the Spanish crowd. The steeplechase athlete is flying through the field. She's got Del Bueno in her sights next. We're just going to see perhaps a glimpse of the Spanish athlete. There she is. Serrano is moving really, really well. She's closing that gap up on third place. If Lomi Muleta starts to struggle and starts to slow down, she perhaps could be vulnerable behind. But Berke Hailum absolutely full of running as she goes through with 6 laps to go.
Back we go to the triple jump. Leonis Perez Hernandez in the 3rd round. It's a decent jump that wasn't measured in the 2nd round. Well clear out front at the moment. That's going to be over 14 metres again. Doesn't look like it'll be an improvement on 14.42.
Here comes Berke Hailum through the 2 kilometre mark. She's going to be, you can see by the estimated time on the board there in the left-hand side of the screen, on for about 8:40. I think that does work out right. I think Berke Hailum, she could lift here in the final kilometre, but she hasn't got anyone for company. She might start to lap some of the athletes further down the field. That could help Berke Hailum. This is a real test for her. I mentioned many of her races so far this season. She's been hanging on to the likes of Gudav Segai. She did that very well in Torun. That took her to a world under-20 record over the 1,500 metres. And then she did it well over the 3,000 metres as well. Came home in 3rd place behind Fawemre Hailu and Gudav Segai with her 8:25. But here, Berke Hailum out there on her own. She's got around about 800 metres or 700 metres left to go now. And she's got to start thinking, do I try and imagine I'm in a championship race? Do I put pressure on myself to try and lift my pace? Or is she happy just to win and then go away and get some training in? I haven't seen any team declarations for the Ethiopian team for Nanjing, but they have so many accomplished athletes, so many competent, in-form athletes to choose for this women's squad across the 1,500 and the 3,000 metres. I hope we see Berke Hailum there.
And of course, her versatility, of course, takes her to a 5,000 metre world under-20 record outdoors as well. So she's got world marks at 1,500 indoors, 3,000 metres indoors, and 5,000 metres outdoors. So in terms of her versatility, as a 19-year-old with the likes of Tsigai and Hailu and others, many others, of course, as well. But you're right, it's not going to be any record-breaking times here, but it's a completely different way to test herself, running in a competitive race with nobody in the same postcode as her.
You can see Federica Del Bueno, the Spanish athlete, just getting swallowed up there by Carla Garado and Marta Serrano. These athletes working well as a pack there. I think Federica Del Bueno committed to going with the Ethiopians and trying to run quickly, but she's just going to pay for it over this last 400 metres. Berke Hailum has got 300 metres to go. Look and see quite how fast she closes. She does look like she's lifting her pace. This is her just pulling up alongside Knight Akuru. The Ugandan athlete is in 7th place at the moment. Berke Hailum is going to hear the bell this time in 8:05. A woman that holds so many of those under-20 records indoors and outdoors. And we thought the likes of Melknek Wudu last year in her 8:32 was impressive indoors. Berke Hailum has obliterated that mark, and here today in Madrid she's going to take her first win on the World Athletics World Indoor Tour Gold Series. It's going to give her a wonderful 10 points. It won't be enough to take the win overall. Fawemre Hailu will be the victor of the overall series, but Berke Hailum with a wonderful turn of speed over that last 200 metres. We know she's capable of much quicker than that. And we look forward to perhaps to seeing her in Nanjing, whether she'll be against the likes of Fawemre Hailu or Gudav Segai and the rest of the world over the 15 laps in a few weeks' time. Good 2nd place for Lomi Muleta, only few laps for the steeplechase specialist. Now there was a battle on for the 3rd place. It is going to go to the local athlete Carla Gallardo of Spain. But that's a good improvement in her mark so far this year. She's done 9:04. She's going to be round about that today, but 3rd place in the World Indoor Tour Gold for Carla Gallardo. Will be one of the best performances of her career.
Well, it was impressive, wasn't it, from Berke Hailum, under no pressure in the race, but whatever pressure her coaching team had put on her in terms of challenges, she would have known that she was likely to be well clear of that field there. So it will be interesting to see if she does head for the World Indoor Championships. Right now, heading for some celebrations. A name certainly to keep a very, very close eye on, if it wasn't already, with 3 world records already to her name. In fact, 4 world records already to her name.
And I wonder, you know, Ethiopian team selection, it's always convoluted, it's always complicated, and I mean, I wonder, Berke Hailum, she didn't look like she'd been asked to kind of prove super fast form, and you know, taking a win in an event of this calibre, perhaps that's going to be enough to impress the selectors.
This is round 4 of the triple jump with the Italian Ottavia Sestanaro. With that best of 13.47 so far, just shy of her season's best performance. Look very close to the front of the board, in fact too close and over the front of the board for Sestanaro, so 2 fouls in a row for her. Competition leader still Leanis Perez, as Molly Caudry is smiling.
Well, the bar has gone up to 4.85 from Molly Caudry, and this is her 3rd and final attempt at a new season's best, and she's way, way over that. Huge jumping from the reigning world indoor champion. She's been in around about the 470s so far this season. 3 competitions there. There was kind of talk of a short approach in her first few competitions to protect. I think it was a hamstring, I heard someone say. I haven't heard that from her. It was another sort of person, another journalist working. Molly Caudry, 4.85, and she's shaking hands like that's it, that she's going to end there. I think that puts her higher than Katie Moon this season. Amanda Mole, the youngster, the American, 4.88, but she's in the collegiate system, Amanda Mole. Her and her sister Hannah Mole are a phenomenal kind of young talent, and they seem to be protecting themselves in the NCAA system because they didn't go to the national championships. So Molly Caudry, in effect, that's sort of a world-leading mark out of those athletes that are looking to compete in the professional circuit, and it does put her in really good stead for that European indoors as well.
So Molly Caudry, 4.85. As you mentioned, yeah, she had been battling a hamstring injury, was coming off that short approach, and I guess it was pleasantly surprising to see her in this meeting, trying to nick that $10,000, which she's not going to do from Tina Schutte. Confirmation that Brian Faust, with that 45.74 dominant performance in the men's 400 metres. That was enough, of course, to take him to the top of the standings in the overall World Indoor Tour Gold. Back to the triple jump, round 4. Nea Filipic of Slovenia, her preparations for the European Indoor Championships, where she finished 5th in Istanbul last time around. Best mark so far is 13.67. Her last 2 jumps have been fouls. Very close to the front of the board again there. It's showing, I was going to say it was showing Salmonen, but it definitely wasn't Salmonen, and it definitely wasn't legal either. Foul for Filipic, 3rd in a row. So 1 or 2 just struggling with their rhythm. First time we've seen Tugba Danishmas, I think. She's also had some issues with her last couple. She's had 2 fouls as well. But her opening round of 13.71, as you see there, a season's best performance, has her in 3rd position behind Perez and Salmonen, the defending European indoor champion, whose best form last year, indoors and out, when she took a European silver medalist as well, was in the mid-14 metres. Can we wait for the legality of that jump? 13.71 for Danishmas is a slight season's improvement. That one is a foul as well. So 3 fouls in a row for Danishmas as well, who's been in the mid-13 metres this year with her performances. That doesn't have her in the top 20 performances in the world this year so far. The men's 400 metres overall title, confirmation there that it did go to Brian Faust with 25 points overall for a maximum of 30.
Maria Sine of Ukraine next to go in the women's triple jump. She's down in 8th place at the moment, a best of 13.06 coming in the 2nd round. Only 8 athletes here today in the field, so they're all going to get all 6 jumps, which is good experience for them. Sine, 13.96 this season, so 90 centimetres short of that. It's our first look at her. Perhaps see what's going on with the Ukrainian, why she's struggling to find that extra half a metre or nearly a metre below her season's best. Looks like she could get the white flag here, Maria Sine, but she's still shaking her head, not happy at all with how her competition's unfolding here in Madrid. She's got one more jump after this, though. And I think when you look towards it, it's not long to that European Championships. It starts on Thursday. I don't think the triple jump's on Thursday night. I'm not sure, but if they've got rounds in that, they're only going to have 3 jumps to try and make the cut into that final, and that's high pressure situation. These women will be used to that, and seeing it there, she has produced her best jump in round 5, 13.20, pushes herself up one position up into 7th place. But you've got to think on your feet out there in a competition environment and make the necessary adjustments to improve. And Sine, one more chance left to do that.
And she's one of those who's right on the cusp of the top 16 for Nanjing, the World Indoors as well at the moment on rankings. Of course, you would expect the athletes who have the European Indoors to, in that major competition, put in some performances that will have a significant impact on the world rankings ahead of Nanjing selection as well. As we see Elda Romeva of Spain, this is the start of round 5 of the triple jump. Sorry, just the second jump of round 5 after seeing Sine there a moment ago with 13.20. Romeva is not happy.
It almost looked like her feet she almost dragged her foot through the sand. I mean, triple jump is so technical. I'm sure there was something went wrong kind of further back in that hop, step and jump, but it was just, she wasn't able to do the end part of the jump, any sort of leg shoot. And Romeva very, very frustrated. She'll do her own assessment. Instant feedback from the coaches.
Yeah, it's a good view of what the athletes see there. Confirmation of the men's overall standings. Brian Faust ahead of Attila Molnar, who wasn't able to compete in this meeting due to illness. Faust takes the $10,000.
There's confirmation of the women's 3,000 metres. Berke Hailum, an easy win for the youngster, the 19-year-old from Ethiopia. 8:38.45. Lomi Muleta in second for Ethiopia. And a good finish from Gallardo of Spain for 3rd place. And there are the overall standings at the end of the World Indoor Tour for the women's 3,000 metres. Verwani Hailu, who became one of the fastest women of all time with her win in Levan. She takes the tour win overall with 20 points. Lomi Muleta moves up to second place with her score today. And there's the results of the women's pole vault. Molly Caudry with a big season's best, 4:85 to put herself second on the world's lists this season. And Tina Šutej of Slovenia doing enough to take the win overall in the World Indoor Tour. Now, this isn't what myself and Chris were expecting. We thought Tina Šutej came into this competition on 20 points, and she should have got 7. We'll see.
That certainly doesn't match the information we were given in front of us here.
Yeah, we had a... But hey, whatever.
You check that. I'll look at this.
They'll all be in Nanjing. It'll be fine.
Yes. We certainly had information that Tina Šutej just needed to finish in the top 2 there to be enough, as we see the start list scrolling through for the men's 1,500 metres, where they're looking to go through in 2:23. That is how things stand here. The cert here is that Samuel Pilström of Sweden has already won this, because none of those athletes below him in the list that can catch him are competing in this race. But there's still plenty of quality. Not least the teenager from Belgium that we'll see in just a second, Elliot Vermeulen. Paul Aurillac of Spain, the national champion over 3,000 metres. There's Elliot Vermeulen. 3:42 lifetime best this year. Paul Moyer of Andorra, their national record holder. There's Filip Sasinek of Czechia, one of those who'll have his eye on a time. Melissa Nberet of Ethiopia, 3:37 PB, you can see there this year. Cathal Doyle of Ireland is also off the back of a 3:37 PB. That was in Levan. He's one of those on the cusp and the rankings list for Nanjing at the moment. Javier Miron of Spain, drawn at 7, alongside Charles Grethen, who's not heading for the European Indoor Championships. This man is Louis Gillavert of France. There's Archie Davis sporting the Brighton Phoenix vest for Great Britain. Ignacio Fonte of Spain who got the bronze medal in the Spanish Championships. And there is the man who knows he's already won the overall World Indoor Tour title, Samuel Pihlström of Sweden. The pace will be set by Mujenovic of Bosnia-Herzegovina. That pace 2:23 through 1,000 metres. Big field for this one. Men's 1,500 metres. Starting on the back straight over 7.5 laps, and thankfully, hopefully a bit of sense taken through those that first turn as they settle in, but you can see already getting themselves behind the pacemaker Mujenovic at the front there, settling down very quickly, and the Spanish athletes led by Fontes getting himself straight to the front there off the back of that bronze medal in the Spanish Championships. But it's a nice position for Samuel Pihlström to be in, isn't it? Preparing for a tilt at the European Indoors with the overall tour already in the bank.
Pihlström's had a fantastic indoor season, and what I like about this situation here is Pihlström isn't in the top 20 in the world with his season's best, which is he's the national record holder for Sweden. He's great, but the fact that he's not in the top 20 on the times, but he's the World Indoor Tour winner, that for me just if you didn't already know that Samuel Pihlström was a good racer, I think that really illustrates that point. The Swedish man, he knows his way around tactical races, how to advance in rounds, and it's great to see that calibre kind of rewarded with a World Indoor Tour win.
Well, there's a couple who just made a significant forward move there, just to try and make sure they're up with the pace here, which is, as you can see at the moment, flitting between 3:37 and 3:38 in these early stages. It's Beret of Ethiopia, whose personal best came in France earlier on this month, just settling in behind Fontes at the moment. Paul Auriac, the bronze medalist, as I say, in the 3,000 metres in the Spanish Championships. Louis Gilevert is one of those who is heading for the European Indoors. He's in the blue vest, currently in 4th position, just outside Charles Grethen. Then comes Pihlström. Javier Miron, the next of the Spanish athletes as well. Archie Davis of Great Britain, based down on the south coast in Brighton, coached by Joel Kidger, just one from the back at the moment as well. Good to see George Mills sporting those Brighton Phoenix colours, scorching to the British title last weekend in Birmingham. His clubmate at the moment, just one from the back.
Ignacio Fontes, he is on that team, is on that Spanish team. I think he had a good enough ranking, if you like. Adrian Ben took the silver medal at the national championships, but he doesn't have the ranking to go forward into the European Championships and whatnot. So Fontes, alongside Mohamed Attawi, will be flying the flag for Spain when we head to Apeldoorn next week. And I bet he would have watched Adrian Ben's win in that 800 metres from the warm-up area and thought, we know this arena, this is where we have our national championships. We've got a sell-out crowd, and Fontes would have said, I want a bit of that magic as well. I'm going to go out there and see what I can do.
Well, it was a bit slower than they were aiming for through 1,000. It was about 2:26 and bits. They were aiming for 2:23. So now it comes down to racing for these guys. They're not going to be breaking any times or hitting any qualifying marks in this particular race. But it's a very useful competitive racing opportunity for these athletes as Fontes continues to lead them. Pihlström, we've seen, come from the back, a bit further back a couple of times. At the moment, he's still very much within striking distance. Carl Doyle as well is moving forward nicely for Ireland in the pink colours at the moment. Tall figure just behind Pihlström, has advanced a couple of places there as well, as now the strike is made at the bell by the Ethiopian Melesen Beret, who's opened up 2 or 3 metres all of a sudden. Pihlström is trying to respond in 4th position there, but at the moment it's Fontes and Gilevert who lead the charge. Now Pihlström, it's Grethen on the outside with the hit number 8, who's scorching past everybody, but they're going to struggle to catch him. Beret, who really has caught them cold here with that move at the bell. He opened up 2 or 3 metres and they're not going to get back to him. It's going to be Beret who enjoys the victory for Ethiopia. A comfortable winner in the end. And we talked about race strategy and race management, and Beret got it absolutely right, caught the rest of them on the hop at the bell, and there was no way back for them.
I think Mberet, well, I know he went through every single position in that race. He was at the back of the race off the line. Let's have a look back. You can see him in the light blue vest there in the pink shoes, just getting smashed out the back. And Mberet, he didn't panic. And yeah, this was a lot of Europeans in this race, a lot of men that we'll see again through the rounds at the European Indoor Championships. And it was almost like Mberet let them all look at each other and race each other and make mistakes. And that was such a powerful move in the closing stages for Mberet. And he had he had a lot left as well. I think he could have risen to the challenge had anyone gone with him. That burst of speed down the back straight, he had another gear if he needed it. It was a good run from Charles Gretham. That's one of the best performances I've seen from him this indoor season, so he's getting better with every race. And Javier Miron had a great finish as well. But Pilstrom, I think he'll be delighted to take the win of the Tour overall, but right now he looks absolutely spent.
Well, he's certainly a name has emerged, hasn't he, over the course of the last few weeks, and this World Indoor Tour Gold, it provides these opportunities for athletes like Samuel Pilstrom to get himself race sharp and competitive for the European Indoors coming up next weekend. Back to the triple jump we go, and we're into the final round now, and this is Maria Sine of Ukraine, who's currently in 8th position. Her best so far in this competition is 13 meters and 20, which came with her last attempt. Leonis Perez, by the way, in case you're wondering why we haven't seen her last couple of efforts, she passed both rounds 4 and 5. Remains to be seen if she'll jump again. But her 14.42 from the first round hasn't been passed. No one's got within nearly half a metre of that.
As we wait for the Ukrainian athlete to take her final jump here, I figured out the Molly Caudry, Tina Schutte conundrum. Yep. Tina Schutte, that's her 4th appearance at the World Indoor Tour. So she drops her worst score, which was the 3rd place earlier on in the season. She's now got a 1st and 2 seconds, and that does only amount to 24 points. So Molly Caudry does take the win in 27 points. So we say apologise to whoever put the graphic up. They were right, we were wrong. It does happen. We
both fell into the same trap there, looking at the list we had in front of us. Because it's not often actually athletes compete in 4 of these meetings, is it? We don't often have to factor that in, but congratulations to Molly Caudry on the victory, season's best, and the $10,000 US. You can see why even Tina Schutte was even more annoyed now when she knocked that last bar off. Sine for Ukraine after plenty of waiting. A foul to end with, I think, yep, in the final round for Sine, so she will finish in 8th position overall. She is going, as we say, to the European Indoors, where she will need to improve on her current position overall, globally. As we see Janne Nielsen next to go. We still have sprint finals to come, by the way, on the track. We have the men's 60-metre hurdles final, which will have World Indoor Tour ramifications as well, as will the women's 60-metre final. Both of those had heats earlier on into a final. As we see Janne Nielsen now in her 3rd competition of the year. She's finished 1st, 2nd and 3rd in her previous comps, her 4th competition rather, this one, sorry. Around about the 13-metre line, if it's legal, from Janne Nielsen, who's been pretty consistent with her marks so far. Perez Hernandez looking pretty good for the overall title in this one. 13.24 for Janne Nielsen. Not an improvement overall. She finishes in 6th place with 13 meters and 40. But a consistent series for Nielsen. Sestanaro in 5th place as we count down in reverse order in this final round. She can replicate the 13.60 that she jumped for the Italian silver medal last weekend. It wouldn't be enough to overhaul the athletes in front of her. She'd have to go better than that to improve up the standings here. Does have a 14-metre and more jump on her record. Been successful at international level for a long time. Won a European medal back in 2013. Age group level did Ottavia Sestanaro. Of course, Italy will have some big hopes in the horizontal jumps, or in the field events generally, when we come to the European Indoors. There was a great men's shot put of the Italian Championships between Fabri, Weir and Ponzio as we see Sestinaro in the final round. And I presume she wasn't any good on the board because that mark was getting further and further back with every step she took, wasn't it? But I presume she was over the board. I
think she must have been. I mean, there was a fall back on her hands as well. There was all sorts wrong with for Sestinaro there. You're right, you know, every action she took would have been eating into the measurement. Anyway, but no improvement for Sestinaro with a foul in the 6th round. So to finish on 4 fouls as you go towards the championship, it's not fun. But Tuğba Danışmaz, the gold medal she took in Istanbul, not only was it in front of a home crowd at a home championships, it was a month after that horrendous earthquake in Syria and Turkey that killed upwards of 50,000 people, and there was talk of whether the championship was even going to go ahead. It was a really muted championships in terms of celebrations. It was very respectful to those that had lost their life, and the emotion from everybody in the arena when Tuğba Danışmaz took that gold medal was just massive, and it was a real moment for the hosts. Danışmaz, only one valid jump here tonight, her first, and that's her 5th foul. 13.71 in the 1st round, and then foul from Danışmaz. It's decent to be in 4th place, and to do 13.71 is okay. It's no disaster for the defending champion for that European title, but again, that's a tough pill to swallow as you move forward into a championship. You might have looked for a bit more confidence as you go towards that.
Athletes lining up for the women's 60 metres. First of 2 semi-finals earlier on. The eye-catching performance was from Lorena Bazzolo, the 41-year-old from Portugal, coming through there to beat both Tori Lewis and Delphine Kanza of Belgium in that first semi-final. A time of 7.21 for Bazzolo, a season's best. Bianca Williams in the orange of Great Britain got the best start in Heat 2, but the second half of the race belonged to Patricia van der Weyken, who came through ahead of Takac of Hungary to take that second semi-final in 7.15. It was a lifetime best for Takac. And as a result of those, this is the lineup that we have for the women's 60-metre final here in Madrid, the World Indoor Tour final. Van der Weyken, who didn't compete in the national championships, but is 4th on the world list this year, has been extremely consistent. A couple of runs in the 7.0s, lots in the 7.1s. That's how it stands overall here. Sears is not competing, Dosso's not competing here. So Van der Weyken knows that a win will take her the overall title. If she's outside the top 4, it goes to the best performance of the tour, and that is held by J.C. Sears. Mila Mahanovic-Zidar of Slovenia, 35 years of age, heading for the World Indoor Championship at the European Indoors. Bianca Williams took her first British title over 60 metres, been in brilliant form. A couple of big chunks off her personal best. She goes in lane 2. There is Patricia van der Weyken, a new national record, chasing her first major medal at the European Indoors. Lorena Bazzolo in lane 4, the Portuguese athlete. Tori Lewis, based these days in the Netherlands, training with the Dutch national setup under Laurent Muley. Seeing the benefits of that with a national record already this winter. Personal best earlier on, that 7.20 for Balaka Takac of Hungary. Delphine Kanza of Belgium is also in personal best form this year. 7.10 is the Belgian national record, which you might have her eye on. And there is Guereto Semedo of Sao Tome and Principe on the outside. The World Indoor Tour Gold Women's 60 metres final. Patricia van der Weyken in pole position to take the overall title, but can she take the victory here? Over 60 metres. Williams has been in great form, the British champion. Bazzolo had a great semi. Tori Lewis has been stringing together consistent performances at a high level. Away they go. Bianca Williams got another good start. Van der Weyken coming on strong in the second half of the race, getting away from Bazzolo, getting away from Williams, and it is Van der Weyken who wins it again with another impressive clocking. It takes her the overall World Indoor Tour gold title, and Patricia van der Weyken keeps her name right in the medal conversation for the European Indoors in Apeldoorn. Not always the best starter, but on so many occasions this year, the best finisher. It's another 7-0 clocking for Patricia van der Weyken, just a couple of hundredths outside her own lifetime best.
And that answers any questions we've had about where has Patricia van der Weyken been in the last 3 weeks. You know, was there a mid-season injury that could derail that hope of a European medal or maybe a world medal? And if there was, van der Weyken has dealt with it absolutely perfectly. She's back to her best today. She looked good in the heats and then better in the final. And it's just that pickup phase, the last 20 metres or so from van der Weyken. She's just going away from the field, and that looks good when we look towards the 100 outdoors as well. But Patricia van der Weyken, and Luxembourg is such a small nation, and for her to be mixing it with the best in the world sort of week in, week out on this World Indoor Tour Gold is just brilliant for them and for her.
That's how the men's 1500 metres finished up. A lifetime best for Paul Auriac, finishing strongly in second place, but Meles Niberet made the break at the bell and they didn't catch him. Personal best too for Moya of Andorra and the improving teenager Elliot Vermeulen of Belgium. And that's how it affected the overall men's World Indoor Tour standings, and then it didn't affect it too much because Samuel Pilstrom was at the top of the leaderboard before the race and ended there as well. 3 jumps left in the women's triple jump. This is Nea Filipic of Slovenia. He's got to get up towards the 14-metre line to impact the top 2 positions. It's pretty good, but is it going to be better than 13.87, her best mark so far? She's one of those who's all action on the runway, isn't she, with her running style. 13.99 is where second position sits, so it's not going to improve. Filipic is currently third position. The 13.82, that is where Filipic finishes. That also confirms that Perez will win the overall World Indoor Tour title as well, because it was a straight fight between Perez and Filipic for that top spot. So that guarantees a top 2 finish here for the Finnish athlete Seni Salminen as well. There she is, who has been on the precipice of 14 metres here with 13.99. 14.63 is her best, the Finnish champion. Just won her 4th title. European number 2 this year, Salminen. So again, big medal hopes going to Apeldoorn. Can she go beyond 14 metres in this final round? No. Glad that she's okay coming out of there. Every time an athlete sort of aborts it halfway through, you just cross your fingers for a second, but all looks good physically. Salminen finishes in second position with her best mark of 13.99.
And I wonder if that dissatisfaction there was seeing the white flag and saying it's going to get measured, even though I wasn't pleased with it. It's come up at 12.04 for the final jump there from Salminen. And she's second place overall, but she is first out of the Europeans here in sort of the last competition before we head to Apeldoorn. And Salminen, I think when we talked about kind of the lack of confidence maybe for Danishmas and Sesternado with all those fouls towards the end of the competition, Salminen to beat the likes of Danishmas, the reigning champion, and Filipic here in Madrid, I think that will give her confidence and a bit of composure as she looks towards Apeldoorn.
Is Perez taking that bib off or putting it on? Let's see. No, she's passed round 6, it says on the computer here, so that women's triple jump is done. And Perez takes the title. She only jumped legally twice. The opening round of 14.42 was enough for her to take the title. The world leader was the big favourite coming into this. She'll be many people's favourite for the World Indoor Championships in Nanjing if she is choosing to compete there. And in the end was well clear of this field. 4 competitions this year, healthily over 14 metres every time. Still the only athlete at the moment with the World Indoor qualifying standard of 14.60.
Leah Dagmis Pavea, last time we saw her, she heavily strapped on one of her legs. I think that was for Turun. question marks over whether she was healthy there. She did one good jump, enough for second place, and then didn't jump again. So we hope that we can have 2 Cubans at full strength and full health as we head towards Nanjing, because that'd be wonderful for those two if they can push onto the podium together. And Ana Palataro Compere, the Spanish athlete, she's been jumping well as well, sparingly, but well. It will, I think, all bubble well towards Nanjing. I think we could see a group of women pushing up towards that 15 metres when we go towards those championships in China.
Yeah, the European standings are really interesting as well, as we pick up shots of the men's 60-metre hurdlers.
2 great semi-finals took place just before we came on air. This is the first of them, featuring Dylan Beard, who's number 2 on the world lists, but can only come home 5th or 6th or so at the national championships in New York in America last week. So he hasn't got a spot on the US team at the moment, and he's trying to change that here with a wild card from the World Indoor Tour. But he led home the first semi-final there. And here is the second semi-final, featuring Wilhelm Belossian of France, who took the French national title in a very competitive race. But Enrique Llopis of Spain in lane 6 here pushed the Frenchman all the way to the line. And at first, it looked like they matched the winning time of Dylan Beard with that 7:50. And it had, in fact, been rounded down in that second heat. The winning time in the end for Enrique Llopis of Spain was 7:48, which equals the national record for Spain that Llopis holds alongside Orlando Ortego. So could he go faster in this final?
Another personal best for Great Britain's Bianca Williams in second place behind Patricia van der Weyken in the 7-0s once again this year to take that World Indoor Tour overall title ahead of Jessias Sears of USA. Those two will renew rivalries at the World Indoors in Nanjing, most likely.
I'll have a look at the start list for the final for this men's 60 hurdles. Erwan Sinner in lane 1, the Frenchman. He was only 5th at the French Championships behind high quality athletes, including Pascal Martineau-Lagarde. He's a reserve for the sprint hurdles French team. And there's the standings at the moment. Grant Holloway in first place because he's got the fastest time from the Tour overall. Dylan Beard in second, thanks to his wins in Astana at the start of the season and Millrose. So if Dylan Beard scores any points here today, that means he needs to be in the top 4. He wins the World Indoor Tour overall and he goes to Nanjing. It's much like Brian Faust in the men's 400 metres with that very competitive US squad. This is kind of their only way, after failing to finish in an automatic position at the national championships, of getting to Nanjing. So Dylan Beard, he's been very, very good on the circuit, very consistent, and you do feel like he deserves a spot in Nanjing. Can he make it happen in this final race of the final meeting in the World Indoor Tour? Up Erwan Sinner in lane 1. Michael Obasui of Belgium goes in lane 2. He's been dealing with an Achilles injury the last few seasons, but he did run well. Take a 3rd place in the second heat to qualify automatically for this. Wilhelm Belossian will go in lane 3. The Frenchman is coached by Teddy Tango. He's always there or thereabouts on the European level. Dylan Beard, the United States, goes in 4. Enrique Llopis said coming into this competition he wanted that Spanish national record for himself. He didn't want to share it with Orlando Ortego anymore, and he's already equalled it again in that heat. So Llopis will be trying to find an extra couple of hundredths. The second of 4 Spanish men, Asier Martinez, goes in lane 6. Abel Jordan of Spain has been very interesting in the last few weeks. He's due to be in lane 7. Apologies if I missed him there. This is Angel Diaz. But Jordan due to be in lane 7. Won the Spanish national championships in a national record over 60 metres flat, and he's not there. What a shame. Let's hope that Jordan is okay and he's just resting up, because he will attempt the double in Apeldoorn. So lane 7 is empty. Diaz will be a bit isolated out there in lane 8. But Wilhelm Belossian, Dylan Beard, Enrique Llopis in the middle of the field, and Asier Martinez, another athlete no stranger to podiums on the international level. The 7 men for the men's 60-metre final, the closing event in the World Indoor Tour Gold for 2025. Dylan Beard slow to rise, but he's fast to the first hurdle. The Americans clattered the second one though. Dylan Beard trying to stay on his feet. It's going to be a win for the local athlete. Enrique Llopis put together a perfect race. Dylan Beard faltered there, He hit some hurdles. Wilhelm Balossian was going well, but Llopis off the final hurdle, much like his heat, managed to overhaul the French athlete. But what was the time for Enrique Llopis? Has he given himself a standalone national record? Let's hope he has. If you remember as well, Llopis went into the final in Istanbul. I can't believe it, he's run 7:48 again. Well, let's hope they can find a 100th. But you might remember Enrique Llopis from the final in Istanbul at the European Indoor Championships. He fell off the last hurdle and he knocked himself out. He was out cold on the track when he was a medal hope for that race. Jason Joseph went on to win for Switzerland, but Enrique Llopis to be back competing at his very, very best, and perhaps back in that tip-top shape just in time to make up for falling in Istanbul. He's so good to the first hurdle, Llopis, as is Dylan Beard, but you can see there the second hurdle, the third hurdle, the fourth hurdle, the fifth hurdle, causing problems for Dylan Beard. Wilhelm Balossian had a smooth run, but he just couldn't. The way Llopis comes off that final hurdle is just deadly, and Balossian, he couldn't go with the Spanish athlete in the closing 5 metres.
Well, that just shows you, not taking anything away from Llopis, who ran a terrific race at 7:48. You could see his frustration when he saw the time again. But Dylan Beard, when one tiny thing goes wrong there, and that was clipping the first hurdle, it just completely unravelled after that. I don't think one was left standing by the end. I think he nearly ran out of his lane at the end as well there. He was almost hooking his leg over the side of the hurdles. But just in that, you've got 7.5 seconds to get everything absolutely right. When we spoke about Grant Holloway continually nailing everything, that's what can happen sometimes when one tiny thing goes wrong. But well played, Llopis. It's what the Spanish crowd came for, and good to see a bit of camaraderie among the compatriots as well there, Martinez and Llopis.
And we did see a small celebration from Dylan Beard, and that was because he held on to 4th place, the last position you could score any points on the tour. That gave him 3 points. That does give him the win overall, and that puts Beard in the squad for Nanjing. And we'll have 3 Americans. That's the last thing we need. They're already too good at this event. But Llopis is being given the national record board. It probably wants to scratch an equal onto it. So, despite all his best efforts here in an arena that is really well known for the fast times. Of course, we had Grant Holloway run the meeting record, and what was a world record at the time, 7:29 here. So Llopis knew it was an opportunity, but he's in great shape, and he's not finished his season yet. I'm sure we'll see him in Apeldoorn and hopefully Nanjing as well.
It'll certainly soften the blow for Dylan Beard technically, won't it, getting $10,000 for winning the tour. Overall confirmation of the women's triple jump standings. Leanis Perez a comfortable winner with that first round jump of 14.42. Problems with fouls elsewhere for the likes of Filipic and the European indoor champion Dadig Mas. And that's how the overall standings finish on the tour. Perez taking the title. We are due to have the ceremony coming up very shortly to crown the winners. But they've told the crowd. There's quite a few of them seem to be on their way. Molly Caudry happy to sign autographs. She is one of those winners in the overall tour. That time's changed again. It's not the right time, he's saying, isn't he?
He's saying, I'm not holding, not going to sit here with the Spanish record sign in front of something that isn't the Spanish record.
Yeah.
Llopis will know every 100th counts, and that's not correct. But I can't reiterate how wonderful it is to see Enrique Llopis back compete. You know, the concussion can really mess with athletes, and it can take a long, long time to come back from it. And Enrique Llopis to be totally knocked out 24 months ago, and this isn't the start of his comeback. He already had a great outdoor season last year, and I really feel like it'd be sort of vindication for Llopis if he could get up there with the likes of Balossian and Jason Joseph, who's running very well when we look towards that European indoor champs. There's a result of the 60-metre hurdles. Llopis, 7:48, again ahead of Wilhelm Balossian. Asier Martinez, the season's best for him, in 3rd place. And Dylan Beard, the all-important 4th place and 3 points. Aha, we've been thwarted again. Chris Temple and myself have been trying to crunch the numbers, and you forget that other people are going to score points and get up there. So Wilhelm Balossian, heartbreak, the opposite of what we thought. It was heartbreak for Dylan Beard in the end. That won't be enough to see him win the World Indoor Tour Gold, and he won't go to Nanjing, so apologies for that error.
It's hard enough trying to keep up with the races, isn't it? Let alone the overall tour standings, where suddenly someone's best result is dropped from the series at the last minute. In case you think we're sat here with statisticians passing us all the information, by the way, you can probably tell that we're not. We've got bits of paper everywhere, laptops everywhere, hopefully bringing you the coverage around the world, wherever you're watching from, as we see some of the highlights of earlier on. This is one of the semi-finals in the women's 60 metres, where Pozzolo, 41 years of age, but still turning out amazing performances. Van der Weyken looking solid in the heats. These days, 7-1 something is solid for her. She's running that well that 7-0s is where she's moved her bar to now. Great result for Grace Van Agnew of Great Britain as well. Emerging name on the international scene, just getting there on the line to spoil one of the early Spanish parties. Sanchez Valladares carrying the Barcelona colours to victory earlier on in the men's 800 metres B race. And what a performance from Adrienne Ben, who came from back to front to beat everybody and hold off Great Britain's Callum Dodds and the US's Jonah Koech in the men's 800 metres A race.
Anita Horvat of Slovenia had a wonderful burst of speed down the last 50-metre straight here to overhaul Masele of Ethiopia. Horvat putting herself on top of the European rankings out of the entrance as we head towards Apeldoorn.
Brian Faust was a convincing winner of the men's 400 metres, sending himself to the top of the World Indoor Tour standings and off to Nanjing. Worth the trip across from the US for him.
Berko Hailum, the new World Under-20 record holder over 3,000 metres, won over the same distance here today in Madrid comfortably by some 12 or 13 seconds over Lomi Muleta, also of Ethiopia.
There was a decisive move made at the bell in the men's 1,500 metres by Nberet of Ethiopia, who held off the charges late on, but that gap he had opened up really caught a high-quality, mainly European field cold. Patricia Van der Weyken, an impressive winner, again accelerating away in the second half of the race from some athletes who've been in really good form to win the women's 60 metres and take the overall title for the World Indoor Tour, as well as she chases her first major medal in Apeldoorn next weekend. Bianca Williams celebrating another personal best. There has been two massive chunks off her best.
Perfection from Enrique Llopis of Spain as he equalled the Spanish national record. Really strong off this final hurdle here, pulling himself ahead of his strong European rivals, particularly Wilhelm Balossian of France, who did hold on to second place. Aseo Martinez gave the Spanish crowd something to cheer about with his third place finish. And Dylan Beard of the United States in fourth.
I think they needed some sort of incentive to stay for the ceremony. Like a free burger if you stay for the ceremony or something. Chase Jackson earlier on, despite battling a bit of illness since winning her third straight US title in the women's shot put, was in a big head-to-head between the world indoor and outdoor champions with Sarah Mitten, but Chase Jackson turned in some impressive 19-metre plus throws. And in the end, she was happier than she looked with that early effort. Jackson, the overall World Indoor Tour title winner in the women's shot put, which opens up as position on the US team for the World Indoor Championships to Jessica Ramsey, the third placer from the US champs.
And there will be a few autograph hunters, a few avid fans holding on for the World Indoor Tour presentation to all the winners. And Molly Caudry, the reigning World Indoor Champion, produced her best performance so far of 2025. It was a clearance at 4.85 with her third attempt to give her a win over Tina Schutte and steal the overall World Indoor Tour title away from the Slovenian. Molly Caudry looking fully healthy and rounding into shape as we head to the championship period of the season.
Still opportunities, of course, for athletes coming up to sharpen themselves up ahead of the European Indoor Championships. I know lots of you watching around the world, of course, as well, where some of the Continental Championships have already happened this year. This is the men's triple jump from earlier on.
Tiago Pereira, really good showing here to finish in third place. He's right up there on the European lists and he knows how to get himself onto a podium on the global level. But I think that you often see in the triple jump, as we get closer and closer to the championships, the athletes just seem to be able to find another half a metre or so, and some of these men are going to have to if they want to get on a podium again. Who's Fabrice Zango? Looked like he could be the favourite going into Paris after winning in Budapest, winning in Glasgow, and he was 5th in the end at the Olympic Games, and this is first jump of the season so far. Some work to be done for Zango, but he's got time before Nanjing. Nazaro Martinez further cemented his status as one of the best in the world this season so far. The winner in Belgrade and the medalist in Budapest behind Zango, the Cuban athlete, had a small season's best here today to take the win.
Women's triple jump. The overall contest was between Nea Filipic of Slovenia and Leanis Perez Hernandez of Cuba, the world leader. Filipic in the end doing enough for 3rd place on the day. Seni Salminen of Finland, with her 5th round effort of 13 metres and 99, took 2nd place, sending her into the European indoors with some good confidence. But it was round 1, and this jump from Perez, 14 metres and 42. She only took her first 3 jumps, past rounds 4, 5 and 6. But continuing her impressive form, giving her a big shout of a first major gold medal in Nanjing, if she chooses to take that route. We have the podium. Keeping a lid on keeping a net around all these athletes is probably the organisers' hardest challenge, I would think, don't you, Hannah? And keeping them here till the end, making sure they're all in the right place.
I think it is one of the toughest jobs in athletics, trying to gather athletes for presentations, whether it's not at a major championships. Everyone wants to be there for major championships, but a lot of these guys, they won't have been aware there was a ceremony to award. So I think we're having the winners from today and any of the winners from the tour overall are going to be presented to the remaining crowds. But a lot of them would have done their warm downs, be thinking about refueling, getting back on the bus, getting to the hotel, and turning their attention to their next challenge. And especially for the Europeans, we're saying they've only got sort of 5 days or so, and probably 2 or 3 days until they go to Apeldoorn. The championships get underway on Thursday. Many of the teams will arrive on Tuesday. And some of the others, particularly Brian Faust, got to get himself all the way back home to America, probably get himself training, get ready for Nanjing, but he does still look happy to be here and to be confirmed as the winner of the World Indoor Tour Gold.
I think if you say to the athletes, you only get your $10,000 if you come to the ceremony,
they'll all be
they're going to stay around, aren't they? There's Brian Faust, the winner. It's worth pointing out, by the way, 2 of the events that aren't in this programme or on this year's tour. This programme for this meeting had already been decided. The men's high jump, Luis Castro, the overall winner of that one, and the men's long jump, Mattia Furlani, also with the $10,000 and the wild card. So we see Samuel Pilstrom just waiting for his moment. There we go. Up you go, Samuel. $10,000 to you, sir. A lot of autograph hunters might be in line for some flowers here as well.
Pilstrom will probably be frustrated with his showing today. He didn't add to his score today. He was outside of the scoring positions, but he would have learnt so much from competing at this level. And I think to have these competitions available to these athletes, so they can learn their craft, they can peak and they can look towards those championships. And for an athlete like Samuel Pilstrom, a former orienteer, to take that £10,000 away and dollars away and put that towards his training and his costs associated with being an athlete. And we thought that Dylan Beard had wrapped up the men's 60-metre hurdles title, but we spoke too soon. The tour winner is Wilhelm Balossian by 1 point. And Balossian was already probably in the driving seat for getting selected for France, as he won the French national championships and he's got opportunities to score ranking points at the European championships. But he doesn't have to think about that now. He is definitely in Nanjing. And that means the French could have a 3rd person come in to Nanjing, and when they've got such strength and depth in this event, that could be really important for them.
Yeah, absolutely. The evolution of the World Indoor Tour Gold over the course of the last few years, the prize money, the extension of the tour, the attraction for these athletes to be here and to be putting together regular performances at a high level. Here's Patricia van der Weyken collecting her prize. The standout European sprinter this year, with only a couple of Americans on the list ahead of her. Really interested to see when she gets to the World Indoors what she can produce at that level under that that pressure. New names. Jasiah Sears is a new name at the US sprinting level internationally. She might not be new to the US collegiate fans, but Van der Weyden at a global level will be really interesting. Make the final first and then see what happens.
Women's 60 could be one of the events of the championships in Nanjing. We look at Majinga Kumbunji rounding into form as well, the Swiss winner in 2022. She's getting better and better with every race. Molly Caudry, she can run down a runway and fling herself 5 meters in the air, but she can't get herself on a podium without some help. But Molly Caudry, she's been asked time and time again, what went wrong in Paris? How could you come in as the world lead and not make the final? And she just said it was a bad day to have a bad day. She's not really been able to put her finger on what happened, and it's just great to see her out here enjoying herself, competing well, and looking to put herself back on 2 podiums. She's got a double opportunity with the Europeans and the Worlds and the indoors to kind of draw a line under that disappointment from last summer and just move forward the rest of her career.
Leonis Perez next onto the podium, who's a lot more prepared, bearing in mind she speaks Spanish and can understand what the announcer was saying. It's a radical suggestion, but they could have lined them up in the order in which they were going to be presented. I mean, it's just a radical suggestion to save a bit of the chaos of trying to find the next person. But Perez was ready and takes her overall title. Didn't have to work too hard in terms of holding off opposition today.
Everyone keeping us guessing who might be next, and it's Chase Jackson. And great for her to take the World Indoor Tour win here. We have mentioned a couple of times the illness of Chase Jackson between the US trials last week and this competition, and that's so stressful. You're just trying to get yourself ready to compete when you're up against the likes of Sarah Mitten and other quality athletes there, to just hold your nerve and produce a performance that's enough to win. That was really impressive from Chase Jackson. In the end, I think all of her throws were very, very solid. That you could tell, though, there was a bit of a lower energy from Chase Jackson and a relief instead of sort of elation. But she got the job done, and she now does have time to recover. There won't be any competitions for Chase Jackson now for a few weeks, and she can rally and recover from that illness and look towards getting herself back on the podium in Nanjing.
And that's one of those other calendar challenges that people have had to deal with, isn't it? That the World Indoors are slightly later, a couple of 2 or 3 weeks later than they might normally have been, which just extends that indoor season a little bit. But then the World Champs outdoors are later at the end of the year, so managing through. Of course, there are other events happening in April and May, which will be of interest, I'm sure, to, well, are certainly of interest to some of the top athletes.
So Adrian Ben won the 800 today. There's no World Indoor Tour association with that. It's not a World Indoor Tour event. Perhaps he's getting performance of the day.
It's a different trophy, isn't it? Yeah.
Performance of the day for a Spanish athlete here in Madrid, because Adrian Ben's win in the men's 800 metres was sensational. He is the European indoor champion from Istanbul a couple of years ago, but he's not made the squad for that championships this year. The Spanish team, they will have to select for Nanjing, and as we said, that championship is later. Perhaps we could see Adrian Ben get the nod over some of the other athletes. They'll probably wait and see how the Europeans unfold, but the strength and depth for the Spanish men's squad is ridiculous.
Molly Caudry, I think, has won women's performance of the day, I'm guessing. I think she was guessing as well. Molly Caudry's Spanish needs a bit of work, so does mine and yours, I think. So if she's got a bit of time travelling maybe over the course of the next few weeks, Spanish lessons. 2 bunches of flowers for Molly Caudry and a 485 clearance. Good day for the Loughborough training setup as well there, with Caudry and Jackson separated by Leonis Perez. I think that's it. I think that's all they've got there.
I think Adrian Ben explaining to Chase Jackson, no, I didn't win anything in the World Indoor Tour. This is male performance of the day.
Molly, go and stand over there then. Go on, get off. Very good performances from all these athletes, not just today, of course. The reason they're on that podium, apart from Adrian Ben, is they've strung together performances over several meetings that have won them the World Indoor Tour gold titles. There's confirmation of the winners from this evening's meeting, and the overall titles, of course, go into a selection of those, bringing us to the end of our 9-meeting tour on the World Indoor Tour gold over the course of the last 6 weeks or so. That's the winners of the overall tour. The events, of course, will flip next year, and it will be the vice versa for the men's and women's events on the tour. From myself, Chris Temple, and Hannah England, hope you've enjoyed the coverage tonight and of the World Indoor Tour Gold generally. We look forward to being back with you again very soon.